Welcome to the Here I Am podcast. I'm thrilled to have Tomm Voss as my guest today for this episode on healing through changing your perspective and manifestation. Tomm Voss is an actor, world champion martial artist, Qigong teacher, and holistic nutrition and life coach. After a successful decade as a professional bodybuilder and fitness spokesperson, Tomm faced significant challenges when the industry took a toll on his body, leading to a diagnosis of a severe autoimmune disease. Determined to heal himself, Tomm immersed himself in Qigong practices and holistic nutrition. With Master Zhou's guidance, he not only healed completely, but also eliminated the need for all medications. Today, Tomm empowers groups and private clients on their healing journeys through Qigong instruction and life coaching. Welcome, Tomm. I'm so happy to have you on the episode today.
Thank you very much for having
I'd love to hear more about how you healed yourself and
Yeah.
how did you get started into the practicing of manifestation and changing your perspective?
Well, so I used to be a professional bodybuilder and a fitness model for Men's Fitness and Muscle and Fitness magazines and other magazines in the industry. And that lifestyle was very extreme. I was very focused on, physical appearance, being very lean all the time. And I had contract. I'm from Denmark originally, but I came here through the fitness industry and got a contract with Weeder Publications, which owned Men's Fitness and Muscle and Fitness magazine. And I then had to basically be in shape year round. Before that, I was a bodybuilder, and typically as a bodybuilder, you have competition where you prep for competition and you have an off season. But when I moved here, they basically asked me to offer me a contract and asked me to be in shape pretty much year round. So all I knew at the time was like competition prep, like how I could be really lean and in great shape.
Was
But
your eating like representative of just for bodybuilding and being in competition, or were you practicing holistic nutrition then as well?
not at all at that
Okay,
time.
I
It
had a
was,
feeling. I thought you were probably just trying to bulk and
yeah.
high
It,
protein and whatnot.
well, it definitely was high protein, but it was purely looking at food as calories, protein,
Right.
carbohydrates, fats, and how could I maximize the effectiveness of those calories.
For your look.
So yeah, exactly, for being in shape.
Right.
So that is all I really knew is how to prepare for competition. But it's a very extreme lifestyle.
Of
Like I was
course.
weighing the food by the gram
Oh,
and so on.
wow.
So
Sounds like a complete lack of balance.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And so after a while, I was able to stay in good shape, but after a while, it started taking a toll on my immune system. And like you said, it was a very imbalanced lifestyle. And then pushing my body to extremes physically on top of it. It's like the engine of a car, for example. If you're always in the red RPM, eventually the engine blows,
Right.
right? You can't drive the car. So the same thing started to happen with my body after a couple of years. My immune system started breaking down, and I kept finding myself always dealing with a cold or something. I was always feeling off, and eventually that then became chronic and translated into an autoimmune disease. And I was at the time told that I had to be on medications every day for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And on top of that, the medications also had one of the side effects. It affected my adrenal glands and my thyroid. And so my thyroid was under functioning, and I then had to take a thyroid medication
Oh,
every
wow.
day. So I did that for a while, like trying to just feel normal as a human being.
So at that point, you still didn't get like a wake up call that like something needs to change. Were you still like dieting and competing, or did you take a break
No,
off
no,
of
no.
that?
I couldn't. I had to get
Yeah.
completely out of the industry.
Okay.
I just wanted to physically restore balance again
Right.
and figure out how I could do that so I could function as a human being.
Right.
And unfortunately, whenever I tried to get off the medication, it would be okay for about 3 to 4 weeks, and then my body would start to feel the impact. If your thyroid isn't functioning properly, it regulates all the other uh, organs in your body, your metabolism, and everything else. So if that is slowed down, that function is slowed down, it impacts your whole state of being.
Of course.
So that many people today are suffering from that. Lethargy, depression, because when you don't have energy, you're not motivated to do anything. So I went through that and had to get back on the medication just to feel normal again. So I said, but there has to be another way.
So did you have like an aha moment where you're like, something else has to change?
Yeah, I did. It was because of a book that my mom gave me
Wow.
when I moved to the United States by Wayne Dyer. It was called You See It When You Believe It. And after having read that book, I knew, well, if I truly believe that I can heal myself and I can heal my body, then it has to be possible. So I started then researching different healing modalities: Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine, holistic health, seeing food as medicine rather than just calories. Like,
Right.
how does food impact our bodies, or my body, and how can I use it for healing? So I then discovered Qigong.
Mm-hmm.
So Qigong is one of three healing arts in China, along with herbology and acupuncture. Qi translates to life force, and Gong translates to cultivation. So it's life force cultivation, and
Beautiful.
it's a practice of movement, intention, and breath. And it is focused on restoring balance to your body and to your mind, because they are interconnected.
Right.
So I then met my teacher at the time, Master Zhou, who was in his 70s at the time, and he gave me a medical qigong treatment. So there's different types of qigong practices. There's the cultivation, which is sort of the meditation that I teach, where you cultivate your own qi. Mm-hmm. Then there is medical qigong, which is what Chinese medical doctors in hospitals in China practice, and that is to help a patient balance their own bioenergy, their own life force, find blockages or remove energy blockages. Because the body, if we talk about qi, it's an energy system, an electrical system. And if that system isn't functioning properly, energy can't flow freely or properly.
Right.
And then that then leads to, or can lead to diseases of different kinds, right? So Master Joe very quickly diagnosed what was going on with me, that I had an imbalance. He hardly spoke a word of English, so he had a translator there.
Oh, wow.
And without me even telling him anything, he could pretty much diagnose what was going on with me.
What a blessing to have met him.
Yeah. It's one of the greatest gifts that
Right.
that I received in my life was meeting Master Joe. So he said, he gave me a medical qigong treatment, and then he said, I want you to take half the medication that you're taking now for the next 2 weeks, and then I want you to stop. But I want you to come to my house on Sundays, and I'll teach you qigong, and then you have to practice every day.
Oh, wow.
And
so for how long were you practicing till you saw improvement in your symptoms?
so within about 3 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I got off the medication after 2 weeks, and I just kept practicing every day, kept showing up every Sunday. He would teach me a new move or go over what I had learned. And then within three months, my system, my body completely restored itself to its natural state, and I haven't been on any medication
That's
since.
incredible. So for the listeners out there who they can't find like a place to do qigong, or maybe they're not motivated to do qigong, is there something else that they can do to tap in to the life force and feeling balanced and grounded I know like it's a type of meditation, but do you think that just meditating on its own would be equivalent to that? Or what would you recommend for somebody who doesn't have access to doing Qigong?
So there are many different types of meditation. Qigong is one, a moving meditation. But doing meditation, period, is really great for your system and your mind, because if we take the word dis-ease, what does it really mean by definition? It means not at ease, right? You're not at ease. Mm-hmm. So the purpose of Qigong, as well as other meditations, is to restore ease back to your system, to your mind, to your body. And so having a practice that focuses on that is great. It's really
so that's where someone should start.
It's a great place
to start. Even if it's just 5 minutes of meditation, I think like even those 5 minutes can make such a huge difference in your day.
Yeah. I mean, it's better to have 5 minutes than
nothing.
Nothing, right? So it's a good place to start. But even before that, it is important to have the mindset that it's possible.
Right.
Like, what is it that you really want to accomplish or achieve, and see it as possible? Because if you don't see it as possible, if you don't believe it, you're going to create it not working for yourself.
Right.
So, and that goes for what I discovered for myself, goes for healing. Like the fact that I believed that was possible, and then of course take an action to facilitate that possibility. That is what ultimately had me have the results that I had. But it took that initial belief that it was possible.
And you attribute it to the book that you read. Is there anything else that you attribute it to? Because it, the saying goes, let me see it and then I'll believe it. But it's really, let me believe it and then you'll see it. So it's a very hard thing to practice, believing and having faith when, especially if you're not feeling well. So it's very hard to transition from no medication to really believing that, changing your perspective and believing that it can happen and you can heal without the medication.
Right.
So what are some ways that we can change our perspective and change our narrative?
So, you've heard of placebo and nocebo, right? Just to use a scientific term of how this in essence can work, right? A placebo effect is when somebody has a belief, they're really taking a sugar pill, but they believe that it's an actual medicine.
Right.
That's making a difference for you, but they believe it so strongly that doctors are seeing the patients actually having the results as if they were taking the medication.
Right.
So that's how it works in the medical field. Then you have what's called the nocebo effect. And what is the nocebo effect? It's really the opposite of the placebo effect. It is if there's a negative belief that you're going to have either an illness or something is going to happen, but you believe it so strongly that your mind can create that illness in the body. So, and what are they really? They're just two ways of looking at something. That's all it is. It's two perspectives of looking at something. Either you believe it's possible, or you believe something is going to have a negative effect or not possible. But whatever you choose is the experience you get to have. So finding a way to look at things differently, and this is also something that Wayne Dyer said, is when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that is not just from a medical perspective, like a situation that can be with anything.
Of course.
Right? When we have a different view of something, the overall picture changes.
I completely agree with you, but I feel like sometimes it's so much easier to just take the negative route. I don't know why we're sometimes wired to just, it's more comfortable to be in the negativity, or to think that, to just maybe be like a victim, or be like, I can't believe I got this autoimmune disease. It's a lot harder, more challenging to face it and change your perspective. Are there some tools besides, just believing it, like maybe affirmations or mantras. I know we talked about
Yeah.
meditation, and I think that
Yeah.
definitely helps. But I think, like, for me, it's sometimes doing mantras and affirming so that I kind of train my belief system
Mhm.
into the positive versus taking the easy route and just being in the negative.
Right. Well, with anything, it's practice makes you better at
Right.
something, right? As a martial artist, I know that the more I practice, the more I train, the better I get at responding to whatever it is I'm dealing with, right?
Right.
So the same with this, and I call this cultivating the garden of your mind
Beautiful.
is really what it comes down
Mhm.
to. And the reason why people tend to lean towards the negative has a lot to do with, well, upbringing. You know, how were our parents talking? Were they more on the pessimistic side,
I
seeing
hear you.
life from
Yeah.
that lens,
Hmm.
or more on the optimistic side? Or even if you look at society today, like news, for example, if we pay attention to the news, if you look at it, it has a very specific structure. It has typically 5 to 6 sort of negative stories, and then at the end, usually there's a positive one, right?
True.
So there's much more
Of
negativity
course.
in that scenario than there's positivity. So that is what we're kind of being bombarded with
Hmm.
on a daily basis, just in society, along with what our surroundings are giving us and what we're taking on.
Right.
So it is then important to understand that is something that we have inherited, but also that we can reprogram that. And in order to do that, you first have to accept what is. You have to
Right.
look at what is. Like, what are the negative beliefs? What are the negative affirmations
Mhm.
that I'm saying to myself? Or how am I speaking negative about myself to others? How am I speaking negative about others, right? What are
Right.
the negative traits or viewpoints that are there?
And how am I speaking negative about myself? Because sometimes we don't
Right.
realize that we're thinking negative thoughts about ourselves. So it sounds like you're saying the first step is awareness.
Awareness,
Yes.
yeah. So there are there are 4 stages to transformation. The first one is called unconscious incompetence. And what does that mean? Unconscious means you're not aware, right? Incompetence meaning there's something you're doing that you're not doing well. It's not producing the results the way that you want it, or you're just not good at it, right?
Right.
But you're not aware that you're not good at it. So how could you know? But still, your life is a way that you don't prefer, whether it's your health or your relationships or your career, whatever it may be. It's not the way that you want, but you're not yet knowing exactly why that is. Which then brings you to the second stage, which is called conscious incompetence. And that's awareness. So that is when you start to notice those negative thoughts and the negative things that you're saying. Or a very simple example that I always use is like, imagine you have something on your face, but you're not aware of it. And you're walking around and people are looking at you, and and you think you're being judged, and maybe they're laughing or whatever, and you're creating that you're being judged. Or why are people looking at me? I don't get it, because you don't see what they're seeing,
Right.
right? Until someone comes along and goes, hey, you have something on your face. So the fact that somebody is telling you that, you now become aware of it, and you go, oh, I do? Yeah, you have something on your face. Now you can do something
Something
about
about
it,
it.
right?
Right. Yeah.
So you can go to a mirror, you can have a look, you can you can
Clean yourself up.
clean yourself, you can remove it, but you can do something about it because you become present and aware to it. And that's the third stage. It's called conscious competence. And conscious competence is when you then practice. You start to catch those negative saying and you cancel them out. You go, oh, wait a minute. Why did I say that I'm not good at this? Why did I say that this bad thing always happens? Or why do I say that I can never meet the right person? Or why why am I creating that?
Right.
And you start to catch it and you cancel it out. So you're pulling out the weeds of your garden, the garden of your
Yes.
mind, to then replace it with something that you do prefer. you know, rather than I'm not good at something. No, I'm in the beginning of mastery. Like I'm learning, I'm growing from this. So I'm in the beginning of mastery. And the same with a martial artist. You start with a white belt and you work your way.
Way up, yes.
You work your way up, right?
Do you think eventually the negative thoughts will not come anymore, or do you think it's just a constant practice of being aware, seeing that the negative thoughts have come, canceling them, and then replacing them with a positive thought? Do you find that over time it becomes less and less, and then the negative thoughts completely go away, or do you like, because you've practiced for so long, and I've practiced many different forms of like self-help and you know getting rid of the negative thoughts, but I still have those negative thoughts, to be quite honest. But it's a constant daily practice for me. So do you find that you still have to practice that on a daily basis, or the negative thoughts have kind of gone?
Well, it's not that there will never be negative thoughts there. It's how much are you entertaining those negative thoughts? Because when you change your focus, the thought goes away. Your mind cannot focus on two things at the same time. Okay. Right? So it's with practice, it's not that you won't have bad situations in your life or negative thoughts or anything like that coming up. It's like you don't have to build a house there. You don't have to live there. So with training, you catch it. You catch those weeds.
Instead of like ruminating.
And and you replace them, and you put yourself in a different state of mind. And that's really cultivating that. So with practice, you spend less and less and less time there. So do negative thoughts still come up for me? Is it yeah.
But you just don't believe them. It's just like they say, don't believe all of your thoughts.
Well, I usually look at it and I go, well, thanks for sharing. That was interesting, but I choose something else. So I'm still acknowledging that it is there.
And you're not fighting it.
I'm not fighting. I'm letting it flow through, right? So keeping that, okay, sending it on its way. And then I focus on, well, what do I really prefer? Let's say it's a negative thought about how something maybe could go wrong. It's like, okay, but the situation hasn't even happened yet. So the odds are just as much in favor that it could go right. So why spend time focusing my energy on what could go wrong rather than what could go right?
Changing your perspective.
Changing the perspective.
Yeah.
But also if I worry about something that may or may not happen, well, as I'm worrying, I'm suffering. I'm not feeling good, right? And then if the thing doesn't happen, then I worried for no reason.
Right.
And then if the thing does happen, well, then I worried twice. I suffered twice. And then what it really comes down to is, well, whatever happens, it's not about what happened. It's how do I respond to the thing that's happening. And that's where really our power lies, is in our responsibility, our ability to respond to what is showing up. Like an illness or something, how do I respond to that? Because the response is what determines the outcome and the result. So to get back to the 4 stages, the conscious competence is when you become so present and aware of your internal dialogue or your internal state, that when something comes up, you catch it, you see it, you catch it, you move it. Eventually, you start to master that. And my intention is to feel happy and relaxed, to feel good, because that's a natural state.
But you put the work into it as well. I mean, you've mastered it, but you meditate every day. You get your body moving. So I feel like it's just like working out. If you want your physique to look nice, you don't just go to the gym for, a month and then buy and you'll always look great. It's something that you have to work on every single day. So just like our physical health, I feel like our mental health is something that every single day we have to do something to maintain it. So that's the interesting part.
It's creating habits that support the life that you truly want to live. It's like creating a foundation for that. Because if you build a house on a foundation that is not strong, how is it gonna survive with time, right?
Right.
So the stronger the foundation you have, the more weight you can carry. And as a human being, the more we have these practices of restoring ease and inner peace and so on, the stronger our foundation is to carry the stresses of life and the pressures that life can sometimes bring. So when we're stressed and unhealthy and have negative thoughts and and eating unhealthy on top, well, then you add the stress of life, of work, of whatever else is going on, and the foundation is not going to be able to carry that. And then what happens is you end up getting sick, or something else happens, right? But probably not something that you prefer.
Right.
So practicing every day and making that your dedicating yourself to that is probably the greatest gift you can give yourself. And not only the greatest gift you can give yourself, but also those around you, because they're also affected by your state of being and how you show up for both for yourself and for them. And that is the last stage of transformation, is called unconscious competence. And that's when you've practiced it so much that you don't have to think about it. It happens automatically. Like learning to drive a car. At first, you have to think about everything and pay attention to traffic and everything that's going on. But with time, you become so good at it that you don't even have to think about it. You can play a song and sing and drive, and you'll get from A to B. So of course, it doesn't happen overnight. It starts with an intention, and then it's taking little steps every day. But the beautiful thing with that is, if you keep taking a step, then you will get to your destination. If you don't take a step, well, you'll stay where you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes we take a step too, and we like meditate consistently for, let's say, a month. Every day for a month, I'm going to meditate. And then sometimes like life happens and we fall off the bandwagon, but it's about being consistent and going back to it. And if you missed meditating for a week or even a month, go back to it. Don't think it's over. Go back. I always say to myself, oh, I didn't meditate. I didn't journal. I didn't have the time. I'm going to make the time now. So not giving up and going back to it. So I think that's really important as well.
Yeah. And also, and it happens, right? Like things in life sometimes throw us off our structure that we have created, or our habits, right? And then it's just getting to a point, okay, let me return to that practice or reinstate those practices. And I mean, I've gone through phases of that where I've been very busy and not been able to meditate as much. But then I also start to feel the effects of that.
I know. It happens to me too. I'm like, I need to go back to meditating.
So then you go back to basics, right?
Right.
You go back to creating that foundation again.
Beautiful. So we talked a lot about perspective, and I'd love to tap into the magic of manifestation. I know you've had some amazing experiences with manifesting. So can you tell me like a little bit about how you've experienced the power of manifestation, and how can someone start manifesting their deepest desires and dreams?
Well, one of the things I manifested was living in the United States. So when I was a kid from Denmark, so actually I was my family moved from Denmark to Luxembourg when I was 9. And in Luxembourg, they speak French, German, English, and I only spoke Danish. So I went from being a very active kid to becoming a passive kid. And I then became like a chubby kid. And I was bullied in school for being overweight. And I remember, so this was my first sort of experience with manifest. I didn't even know that I was, it was something I was doing deliberately. But I remember clearly, it was a summer evening. I was just looking at stars, and I saw a shooting star. And I thought, well, I get to make a wish. And what I wished for at the time was, I just wanted to be accepted in school, not to be bullied.
Aw.
Wanted to lose the weight. I thought that would make a difference for me.
Yeah.
So, and I thought maybe even if I lose the weight, the girl in school that made my heart skip a beat Like maybe she would even notice me,
Aw.
maybe even fall in love with me. That was sort of my, I was 13 at the time.
Aw.
So, I made that wish, and this is not exactly how I had imagined it would come about, but that summer, I ended up getting a food poisoning, and
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
and I lost a lot of weight over like 2 weeks, and when I kind of got my health back again, I thought, okay, I lost some weight, not exactly how I had imagined it happening, but I want to keep this up. So
Right.
I started running every day after school. I started playing soccer, and I started doing all the things to be active and keep it going. Started eating less and healthier.
Healthier.
And eventually I got really, really skinny.
Mm-hmm.
So, a matter of fact, I got so skinny that the other kids in school started making fun of me for being too skinny.
Oh my goodness.
Because I could run fast on the soccer field, but when I caught up to the ball, I couldn't kick it anywhere.
Oh
I
my
didn't
God.
I didn't have strength in my legs.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother-in-law at the time took me to the gym for the very first time. I was 14 years old, and I thought, why am I doing this? Just to feel sore? Like after working out, I was feeling sore, brushing my teeth at night, but he kept picking me up after school, and I started to see by the hard work I put in that my body started changing, becoming more athletic and
Stronger.
and stronger. I could run faster. I could kick the ball. I could really see a difference in my life, and also how I was perceived by others in school. So after a year of training, the owner of the gym that I was training at asked me if I wanted to compete in the National Bodybuilding Championship in Luxembourg. And the only reason I said yes to doing this was because he offered me a year free membership. So I'm like, oh, that's a lot, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I had no idea what I said yes to.
Mm-hmm.
So I started reading fitness magazines, like how to prepare for this championship. I ended up winning the junior championship as a junior bodybuilder. I was 15, 16 at the time. And what I didn't know is that by winning that, I qualified to represent the country in the world championship.
Oh, wow.
So all of a sudden, now my world opened up by putting hard work into something and seeing the results of the hard work. It opened up my world to all of a sudden travel. So I found something that I felt I was good at. Mm-hmm. that I could see the fruits of the labor that I put in. So I got into competitive bodybuilding, and at the time, my dream or wish was to one day move to America, because I grew up watching, American movies and Arnold and Coming to America was one of my favorite movies. Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy. So I immersed myself into bodybuilding and fitness, and started winning championships and competed in multiple world championships. And eventually that opened up the door for me to come to the United States. Wow. And while I was reading these magazines, I was like, oh, I would like to do that, to maybe be in one of these magazines one day.
Right.
And by just following my passion, the door opened up to come to the United States, and I ended up being on the cover.
In one of those magazines? On the cover. Wow.
One of these magazines. So I had I visualized it.
Right.
I'd set the desire.
Right.
And believed that it was possible and taken the steps to do it. And
right.
So that was sort of my first experiences with manifesting.
I think the important thing, though, is sometimes people think manifesting is just saying it and it'll happen. Mm-hmm. But I think that you have to say it, believe it, visualize it, then let go of the attachment to the outcome, but also put in the effort.
Right.
And that sounds like what you did. You didn't just say, oh, I wanted, and then, sat home and didn't work out. Right. You worked towards it.
Right.
So I think to me, that's part of the secret of manifestation.
Yeah. you have to meet the universe or life halfway. Like you have to take steps towards what it is, and it will meet you. Like your desire will start to chase after you.
Right.
And um, I have one other story, and that was when I moved here, I didn't have a car, so uh, I wanted to have a Jeep because that was the ultimate American car at the time, and so I went to Jeep on La Brea at the time, and I was just looking in the window and seeing that car, and I just remember visualizing myself driving a Jeep, and I completely
Let go of it. Okay.
let go of it. Well, within that first year when I was here, after the first year, I was offered a contract by Weta Publications, Muscle and Fitness, Men's Fitness. And the first week of having gotten my work visa to work with them in the country legally and gotten a sponsorship, they said, hey, there's this show called Hollywood Squares.
I remember that show.
and they said they're asking for fit contestants. And since you just signed a contract with us, would you be interested in going on the show? You can win stuff. So I was like, yeah, I'll go on the show. I'd never seen it before in my life because we didn't have that in Europe. So I go on the show, and it's like Pamela Anderson is one of the people
Oh, wow.
in the squares. Miss
That's so
Piggy,
cool.
Phyllis Diller, the
Oh my
Hilton
God, that's so
sisters,
fun.
Charo,
Uh-huh.
Phyllis Diller,
Oh, wow.
and so I had to play. I ended up winning the first round, so I won $3,000, and then because I won the rounds, I went on to the bonus round, and the bonus round was a brand new Jeep.
Oh my God. That's insane.
So
So is this 1 year after you were visualizing the Jeep?
this was about around probably within a year,
And
maybe
you
6
didn't
months.
have a car within that 1 year, did
I
you?
had to borrow a car.
Oh, you borrowed?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, through somebody who a friend. I had a car to drive around, but I didn't have a car.
But that's insane that it's not like any car. It's an actual Jeep. Do you know what I mean?
It was
It's
a
not
Jeep,
like,
yeah.
it was like so precise.
Yeah. Now for every square there was one key for the car, like one key for every square.
So,
For every right answer, one wrong key would go away.
okay.
I had 3 right answers,
Uh-huh.
and because I was there only one day, they took away one extra key. So there was 5 keys to choose from, and I ended up choosing the right key.
Wow.
I won a brand new Jeep.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
So
incredible.
I was like, there's something to this.
You're right.
Visualizing and manifesting, and sometimes, yeah, it can manifest with a lot of effort and determination, and sometimes things can show up in ways I'd never expected.
And sometimes it
So-
happens the next day, and sometimes it happens in a year. So
Right.
it's like you never know when it's going to happen.
Right. And typically when the circumstances are ripe, are right.
Right.
Because for you to have what it is you want, well, if you think of the universe as something that's malleable, that works with you, it has to align things in alignment with what it
The
is
right
that
time,
you
yeah.
want in the right timing.
That's
and
beautiful.
so at that time, I like, okay, there's more to this. Now I want to understand how that works. And when I then got sick is when I really had to learn to apply it to my physical body. Like, how could I use these universal laws
To manifest health
to
for yourself.
to manifest health? And not only that, like really live the life that I wanted to live, because I wasn't at the time. I had accomplished all these things like trophies and magazine covers and stuff, but it wasn't truly fulfilling. Like, there was always something when I got it, was like, okay, I got the thing. I'm on the cover this month. But then after that, it's like, oh, it's the next thing. And it was never truly fulfilling. So I was like, there has to be, there has to be
Something else.
more to life than just the pursuit of these external things. Like, how can I be happy and at peace with myself, or experience joy without having those things?
I think part of it is giving back. And it sounds like that's what you're doing now with teaching Qigong and as a life coach.
No.
So it's beautiful that you're doing what you love. You're acting as well. Are you still in the fitness world too, or is that
Not in a professional
not a
sense. So
professional sense?
I help people with holistic health and life
Okay.
coaching and manifesting their dreams. So using the universal principles and laws and structure to attain those wishes and desires. Um, but also I teach martial arts as well, and
Oh,
qigong
okay, great.
and fitness, but mostly one-on-one private clients here and
Okay.
there.
So if
So
somebody wants to work with you, what would a session with you entail when it comes to, let's say, life coaching? Or do you do do you do a combination of qigong and life coaching, or is it one or the other?
well, it depends what the person's intention is
Okay.
and what they want to create. Is there some health issues, or is it attaining a certain result or goal? So I look at it holistically, and then we discover it together. First, creating a plan or a vision for the future of what it is.
Hmm.
So we have a destination, and then it's creating a blueprint to getting there,
And taking the steps. So you'll
and
guide
taking the
them
steps. Yeah, yeah.
on their journey to getting to where they
and
want to be.
and oftentimes majority of the people that I when I start working with them are dealing with stress and worry and anxiety and so on. So having practices like qigong and meditation are a great combination,
Combination, definitely.
because so the core philosophy of, let's say, qigong, for example, is to be happy and relaxed. Master Joe always said, "Happy, relax," right? And life unfolds when we're happy and relaxed. Energy flows freely in our body. We deal much easier with things that show up for us. So the more we can cultivate that state of being, the easier it becomes of attaining our goals when we are in a happy and relaxed state. So qigong works great with that. But then there are clients I work with who have Parkinson's, for example, and for them, qigong is one of the main things that we do. But then we also focus on the outlook, like the
Right, the
perspective.
perspective.
And one thing I saw as a common denominator for people with Parkinson's was chronic worry. So, like worrying about the future, or
Hmm.
about anything, like just worrying. And if you look at nature, so one of the symptoms of Parkinson's is shaking,
Hmm.
shakes. If you look at nature, if an animal is afraid, what does it typically do? It
Shakes,
shakes,
yeah.
because it's releasing that energy of fear and worry, that emotion. It's emoting,
Right.
right? But when you're feeling, as a human being, you're feeling this chronic worry and fear over time, it becomes chronic on your nervous system, and your system can't handle it over time. So it's kind of starts to short circuit. And one of the medications they use to treat Parkinson's is dopamine.
Oh, wow.
And they use something called levodopa, and
Hmm.
there are other medications too, but that's one of the main things used. What is dopamine? Dopamine is the hormone that the body, the chemical, the biochemical the body creates when we experience a sunset, or love, or gratitude, or something that
Right.
brings us joy. We produce dopamine. When you are in a state of fear and worry,
Where's the dopamine?
there is
Yeah.
no dopamine. Like, so, and if you feel that chronically, well, the body and the brain, the let's say they call it the factory that produces dopamine, is not in use, right? So it doesn't, it gets out of practice.
Right.
So what I discovered was, when practicing qigong with Parkinson's patients, for example, simply by getting into a state of being happy and relaxed, by focusing what they're grateful for and what puts a smile on their face and a smile on their heart, within 20 minutes of just deep breathing, focusing on your intention on that, their symptoms would go away.
Oh, wow.
So they would have
The shaking would
the
stop.
shaking would go away. They can speak
Oh,
clearly for
wow.
up to 6 hours after.
That's insane.
So, and that's just restoring ease
That's
to the body
incredible.
and the mind. So having those practices, whether it's Parkinson's or any dis-ease, and really the key word is dis-ease. Restoring ease to your system is so important for retaining your health, for improving your health, for maintaining your health, but also for manifesting the life that you want to live.
How beautiful.
So
that's amazing. You're doing some amazing work out there.
It brings me a lot of say satisfaction, and I feel on purpose when I do it. And the reason that it does, I lost a close friend of mine about 15 years ago now.
I'm sorry.
In an accident before my 30th birthday. And one of the things that he's actually the reason why I'm sitting here today. Like, he helped me move to the United States, and he was such a generous person. Like, he helped so many people. And when he passed, that was what he was remembered for.
Aww.
Was the difference that he made for so many people. And when that happened, I got, wow, what do I want to be remembered for when I leave this world? Is it, what I have, the material things, or like, nobody's going to care about that. It's like, what they remembered him for was the difference that he made.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you want to be remembered for the impact that you have on people's lives.
Yeah. And, what I then discovered was that life is a mirror. I mean, again, this is a perspective and a way to look at it, and it's what I choose to believe, that life is really a mirror, and it mirrors back to us who we are being. Mm-hmm. So if you're always thinking, what can I get, what can I get, what can I get, and you're kind of taken from life and from others, well, life responds in kind, and it will eventually take from you as well.
Right.
But when you start asking the question, how can I be of service? With what I know, with my skills and talents, how can I make a difference, and how can I be of service? Life starts to respond in kind and be a mirror of that. And magically, somehow, doors start to open up in ways that you might never have experienced. And it's because in nature, there is no self-serving, like, organisms. Like, really, like, everything works in symbiosis. Mm-hmm. One thing is always serving the other. Nothing is taken without something given back, right? So when we live in a very egoic state where it's just self-serving,
taking,
it can't sustain. That system can't be sustained.
Absolutely.
So we have to look at how can we benefit those around us. And the beautiful thing is that in kind, benefits us as well. Like, it comes back in amazing ways.
How lovely. So if someone wants to reach out to you and start working with you, what's the best way that they can get in contact with you?
I have a website called Qi Within, so QI within.com.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
And
QIwithin.com.
Yeah, QiWithin.com. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's one way, and there's and then I'm on social media as well, on Instagram. And
okay, is your handle
at Tomm Voss?
At Tomm Voss. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on my show. So lovely to have you, and you shared so many different insights, and we talked about perspective and manifestation, and I think this will really help a lot of people out there. So
can I say one last thing?
Please, yeah, give me another nugget.
I think it's so important to the whole manifestation.
Okay, yes,
practice.
Please, yeah, tell me.
So the old way of thinking, of attaining something, is first you have to do something, right? Mm-hmm. In order to have whatever it is that you want, so you can then feel great, accomplished, successful, mm-hmm. prosperous, whatever that is. But it's really what I've discovered. It's really the other way around.
It's the opposite. That's
it's
amazing.
Really first be like, how does it feel to be successful, to be prosperous, to be healthy? That's how I healed myself. Was I had to feel it first, like to visualize it, feel it. First be. When you can generate and create the state of being first, and then from that place you do, so you're being in action from that place, then the having will come around. But the beautiful thing is the having doesn't really matter that much because you're already feeling
it.
what it is. Because it's typically not the thing, the material thing that we want.
It's the feeling that comes behind it. Yes.
Right. And that goes for anything, for money, for anything you want to, have. It's not the thing itself, right? It's not the piece of paper. It's the freedom that it represents or what you can do with it.
It's amazing because I feel like us as humans, ultimately, like you're saying, we all just want to feel good.
Right.
We're all kind of chasing that feeling of being at peace and happy and joyful. And sometimes people think that it comes from external, but again, it goes back to within and being in that state of mind. So thank you for sharing that. That's a huge nugget.
The access is here and now. It's not someone in the future.
Of course.
It's someone in the future. It's now. Like you have access to it now, and it's just discovering that.
Thank you so much for tuning in and spending your time with us. If you've enjoyed what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the episode with someone who would love it too. You can follow us on Instagram at Desiree Mirharuni or at the Here I Am podcast for behind the scenes content and updates.